The space around Jupiter's orbit was usually quiet. Today was different. Captain Walker stood on the bridge of his ship determined, watching the strange vessels appear one by one through the warp gates. Their ships looked like giant metal spiders, dark and threatening against the starlit background. Walker ran his hand through his gray hair and adjusted his blue uniform. 20 years in Earth's space fleet hadn't prepared him for this moment. The alien ships were bigger than anything humans had ever built, their surfaces gleaming with weapons that made Earth's best technology look like toys. "Sir, they're broadcasting a message," said Tom, the young communication officer. His fingers moved quickly across the glowing screen. "Should I play it?" Walker nodded, his throat feeling dry. The main screen lit up, showing a creature that looked like a mix between a praying mantis and a crab. Its voice came through in perfect English, which made everything feel even more unsettling. "Humans of Earth, we are the Dominion. Your primitive species has been observed and found wanting. Surrender your worlds now, and we will be merciful. Resist, and we will show no mercy. You have 1 Earth hour to decide." The bridge fell silent. Walker studied the alien ships through the main viewport, something catching his eye. Their ships had no visible thrusters, instead using some kind of energy field for movement. The hulls were covered in complex shield generators that glowed with a faint blue light. "Get me Earth Command," Walker ordered. As he waited for the connection, he noticed something else strange. The alien ship's armor wasn't solid. It had gaps, probably to let their energy shields work better. It was the kind of design you'd make if you weren't worried about simple physical attacks. The emergency meeting with Earth Command was quick. They had seen similar messages from the Dominion fleet at 3 other locations in human space. The aliens were boxing them in, preparing for what looked like a total invasion. "Hold your position, Captain," the Admiral's voice crackled through the comm. "Do not fire unless fired upon. We need time to prepare our defenses." Walker watched as more alien ships appeared. He counted 30 now, each one bigger than his own ship. The Determined was Earth's newest destroyer, but next to these vessels, it looked like a rowboat beside cruise ships. "Sir," Tom called out again, "they're scanning us. Their beams are going right through our shields like they're not even there." Walker remembered his history lessons. When Europeans first met Native Americans, they had similar levels of arrogance. Their superior technology made them underestimate their opponents, but the natives often found surprising ways to fight back. Looking at these alien ships, with their reliance on energy shields and complex technology, Walker wondered if the Dominion was making the same mistake. "Send all scan data to Earth Command," he ordered. "Every detail about their ships, especially their defenses, and get me everything we have about their shield technology." The hour was ticking away, and humanity's time as a free species seemed to be running out. But Captain Walker had seen something in those alien ships, a weakness born from their own advancement. He just hoped someone back on Earth would spot it too. "Message from the Dominion," Tom announced. "They're asking for our answer." Walker straightened his uniform and cleared his throat. They needed time, and he was going to buy it. "Tell them," he said with a small smile, "that humanity is still discussing their generous offer, and we need 24 more hours to reach all our colony worlds." As he spoke, the data about the Dominion ships was already racing back to Earth, where it would soon land on the desk of a weapons researcher who thought differently from everyone else. The data from Captain Walker's ship arrived at Earth Defense Headquarters alongside dozens of similar reports. Most military experts rushed to study the Dominion's energy weapons and shield technology, but Dr. Emma Thompson was interested in something else entirely. She sat in her cluttered office, surrounded by books about ancient warfare and historical weapons. Unlike her colleagues who spent their time with quantum physics and plasma dynamics, Emma believed in learning from the past. Her computer displayed the scan data of the Dominion ships, but her desk was covered with pictures of old catapults and slingshots. "You can't be serious," said Admiral Peters, looking at the crude drawing on Emma's whiteboard. The old man had come to hear proposals from Earth's top scientists, but he hadn't expected this. You want to fight the most advanced alien species we've ever seen with a rubber band. Emma pushed her glasses up and pointed to the ship scans. Look at their design, sir. Everything about their technology is built to defend against energy weapons and high-speed projectiles. Their shields are incredible at stopping anything moving at bullet speed or faster. But what about something slower? The Admiral frowned. Slower weapons would be even more useless. Not necessarily. Emma pulled up an old video of a person shooting a rubber band. Their shields work by detecting and stopping objects moving above certain speeds, but a rubber band, when scaled up properly, could deliver massive force while moving just under their shield's detection threshold. Other scientists in the room started laughing. Someone in the back made a comment about bringing water balloons to a space battle. But Admiral Peters wasn't laughing. He was remembering something from his own military history lessons. Like the Maginot Line, he muttered. Emma's eyes lit up. Exactly. The French built this incredible defensive line, but the Germans simply went around it. The Dominion ships are the same. They're perfectly defended against what they think we'll use, but completely vulnerable to something they'd never expect. She walked to her whiteboard and drew another diagram. We build giant space-based slingshots, use modern materials to create ultra-strong elastic bands. Their ships have gaps in their armor because they rely entirely on their shields. A big enough rubber band projectile, moving just slow enough to slip past their shields, could tear right through those gaps. The room had gone quiet now. The laughter had stopped as people began to see the crazy logic behind her idea. Admiral Peters studied the ship scans again, paying special attention to the armor gaps Emma had mentioned. The whole thing is absolutely ridiculous, he said finally. Then he smiled, which is exactly why it might work. How fast can you build a prototype? Emma grabbed her tablet, already pulling up material specifications. Give me 2 weeks and a good engineering team. But sir, we need to keep this quiet. If the Dominion finds out what we're building, they'd die laughing. Someone suggested. No, Emma said seriously. They might realize their weakness and fix it. Our advantage is that this is too stupid for them to even consider defending against. Admiral Peters nodded. Project classification level maximum. And Dr. Thompson, if this works, you'll either be remembered as the greatest military genius in human history, or the person who tried to fight aliens with office supplies. Emma finished. I can live with either outcome, sir, as long as humanity survives. The underground facility near the old Nevada test site buzzed with activity. Engineers worked day and night, building something that made them feel like they were in a comedy show rather than a military project. Emma watched from the observation deck as massive machines stretched and tested rubber-like materials that could store enormous amounts of energy. The material strength tests are done, said Bill, her chief engineer. He handed her a tablet showing test results. We've managed to create elastic bands that can stretch to 50 times their original length without breaking. The energy storage capacity is off the charts. Down on the test floor, robotic arms carefully wove the new material into thick bands. Each one was as wide as a car and designed to be linked together in space to form something bigger. The whole project looked like a child's toy, scaled up to ridiculous proportions. News from the front lines grew worse each day. The Dominion had started taking human colonies, their ships easily brushing aside conventional weapons. Earth's best missiles and energy weapons couldn't get through their shields. But in this hidden facility, humanity was building something that didn't show up on any known weapons database. We lost contact with the Martinez colony, Admiral Peters announced during the daily briefing. His face looked tired on the video screen. How close are we? Emma pointed to the prototype launcher they'd built. It looked like a giant slingshot attached to a small spacecraft. First space test tomorrow. We've solved the targeting systems and found a way to keep the bands from tangling during launch. The hard part was getting the projectile speed just right. Too fast, and their shields will stop it, too slow, and it won't do enough damage. The Admiral nodded. The Dominion fleet will reach Mars in 2 weeks. We need this to work, Doctor. No pressure. The test day arrived with tense anticipation. They had captured a small Dominion scout ship during a skirmish, and it now floated in space, its shields humming. Emma watched from the control room as they prepared to fire the first shot. Test firing in 10 seconds, Bill announced. The giant rubber band was pulled back by automated systems, storing enough energy to launch a car into orbit. The target ship floated peacefully, its advanced shields ready to stop any human weapon. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. The launcher released its hold. The massive band snapped forward, sending its projectile toward the alien ship at what seemed like a ridiculously slow speed compared to normal weapons. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the projectile passed straight through the shield as if it wasn't there. It struck the alien ship's hull exactly where Emma had predicted the armor would be weakest. The impact tore a huge hole in the vessel, sending debris spinning into space. The control room erupted in cheers. Emma just smiled, already calculating how to make the weapon bigger. On her desk, she had a small office rubber band she'd saved from her first day as a researcher. It had given her the idea that might save humanity. Begin full production, Admiral Peters ordered, his voice full of hope for the first time in weeks. And remember, not a word about this to anyone. Let the Dominion think we're still trying to fight them with normal weapons. Their overconfidence will be their downfall. The captured Dominion scout ship drifted in the void between Earth and Mars. Captain Walker watched it through the Determined's viewport, still not quite believing what he was about to witness. His ship had been chosen to protect the test site, though from what he'd been told, the weapon they were testing seemed more like a joke than a defense system. Target is holding steady, Tom reported from his station. Dominion shield systems are active and at full power. They're definitely taking our bait. The aliens had noticed the scout ship's capture but seemed unconcerned. Their main fleet continued its steady advance through the solar system, arrogantly confident in their superior technology. They had no idea they were about to witness the first full-scale test of humanity's strangest weapon. Test platform reports ready, Tom announced. Dr. Thompson is requesting permission to proceed. Walker touched the command screen. This is Captain Walker. You have permission to fire when ready. He still couldn't believe they were about to attack an alien warship with what was essentially a giant rubber band. The test platform appeared on their screens, looking like something from an ancient war museum rather than a space weapon. The massive elastic bands stretched back, holding their projectile ready. Energy readings from the device were surprisingly low, exactly as planned. Firing in 3, 2, 1. The launcher released. The projectile moved toward the Dominion ship at what seemed like a crawl compared to normal weapons. Walker held his breath. If this failed, Earth would need a new plan, and fast. The projectile hit the alien shield and passed right through. It struck the ship's hull with devastating force, the simple kinetic impact tearing through the advanced alien metal like paper. The scout ship split apart, its pieces spinning away into space. Direct hit, Tom shouted. Sir, you're not going to believe these readings. The projectile completely ignored their shields. It's like they weren't even there. Walker smiled as he watched the debris float away. He remembered Emma's explanation about the shield technology. The Dominion had built their defenses to stop energy weapons and high-speed projectiles, never imagining someone would attack them with something so primitive. Send all test data to Earth Command, he ordered, and get me Dr. Thompson. Emma's face appeared on his screen, beaming with pride. Did you see that, Captain? Their shields are useless against slow-moving kinetic impacts. We've found their weakness. I saw it, Walker replied. But will it work against their bigger ships? Oh yes, Emma grinned. We're already building larger launchers. The basic physics doesn't change. We just need bigger rubber bands. The real advantage is they can't adapt their shields to stop this. Their whole defensive technology is built around stopping things that move fast. They'd have to rebuild their entire shield system from scratch. Walker looked at the tactical display showing the approaching Dominion fleet. They had no idea what was waiting for them. Sometimes, he thought, the simplest solutions were the best ones. Start production immediately, he ordered. We'll show them that humanity doesn't need fancy technology to win this war. Sometimes all you need is a good rubber band and the courage to try something crazy. Earth's fleet gathered near Mars, hidden behind its red bulk. 50 ships, each now equipped with the giant rubber band launchers, waited in formation. Captain Walker stood on the Determined's bridge, watching the tactical display as the Dominion fleet approached, unaware of the surprise that awaited them. All ships report weapons are primed and ready, Tom said from his station. The new launchers had been fitted to every vessel in secret, their power systems running at minimal levels to avoid detection. The Dominion fleet will be in range in 5 minutes. The alien ships moved with obvious confidence, their massive forms casting long shadows in the sunlight. Their communication channels broadcast continuous demands for surrender, certain of their technological superiority. Walker smiled, thinking about how wrong they were. Enemy fleet entering optimal range, Tom announced. They're scanning us. Sir, they're sending a message, audio only. The alien commander's voice filled the bridge, dripping with contempt. Human vessels, our scans show you have no active weapons. Have you finally accepted the futility of resistance? Walker pressed the comm button. Not exactly. We just decided to try something a little more traditional. He switched to the fleet channel. All ships, commence attack. Remember, slow and steady wins this race. 50 launchers activated simultaneously. The massive rubber bands stretched back, their simple design hiding the incredible force they could deliver. The Dominion ships didn't even raise their shields to full power, their sensors showing nothing they considered a threat. The first volley launched. Hundreds of projectiles moved through space at what seemed like a leisurely pace. The alien ships maintained position, probably wondering if this was some kind of joke. Then the first impacts hit. The results were spectacular. Projectiles passed through the advanced shields like they weren't there, smashing into the aliens' hull armor. Massive holes appeared in their ships, atmosphere venting into space. Their elegant energy weapons and sophisticated shields meant nothing against the simple physics of a slow-moving mass. Direct hits on 23 enemy vessels. Tom shouted, his voice full of excitement. Their shields aren't stopping anything. They're trying to return fire, but they can't target our launchers fast enough. The Dominion fleet fell into chaos. Some ships tried to retreat, others attempted to close distance, but the humans had positioned themselves perfectly. Another volley launched, and more alien ships broke apart under the assault. They're sending out a distress call, Tom reported, broadcasting on all frequencies. Sir, you need to hear this. The alien commander's voice had lost all its arrogance. Emergency. The humans are using some kind of primitive projectile weapon. Our shields are useless. How are they defeating our technology with such simple weapons? We need immediate reinforcements. Walker watched as the mighty Dominion fleet, pride of their empire, fell apart under the assault of humanity's simplest weapon. Send a message to Earth Command, he ordered. Tell them Dr. Thompson's crazy idea worked. The rubber band offensive is a complete success. The highest council of the Dominion met in their central command ship, far from the human solar system. The massive chamber, usually filled with confident discussion of conquest, now echoed with angry shouts and desperate arguments. The Supreme Commander slammed his claw against the metallic table, demanding silence. How is this possible? He roared, his translator making the alien words sound harsh in every known language. Our technology is centuries ahead of theirs. Our shields stop everything. Yet they defeat us with primitive elastic weapons. The chief scientist activated a hologram showing the human rubber band launchers in action. The problem is fundamental to our shield design, he explained, his voice trembling. Our entire defensive technology is based on stopping high-energy weapons and fast projectiles. We never thought anyone would attack us with something so simple. The tactical officer stepped forward, his armored carapace reflecting the dim light. We've lost 30% of our invasion fleet. Our remaining ships refuse to engage the humans directly. The captains say their crews panic at the sight of these weapons. They can't fight what they can't stop. Then redesign the shields. The Supreme Commander demanded. Make them stop these primitive attacks. The chief scientist shook his head, manipulating the hologram to show their shield technology. It's not that simple. Our shield generators are built into the very structure of our ships. They're designed to detect and stop objects moving above certain speeds. To stop these slow-moving projectiles, we'd need to completely rebuild our entire fleet from scratch. It would take years. Reports continued to arrive from the front lines. More Dominion ships lost to the humans' ridiculous weapon. Their armies, used to easy victories through superior technology, were retreating in confusion. The morale of their entire military was collapsing. The humans are advancing, the tactical officer reported grimly. They've adapted our own captured ships, adding their weapons to them. They're pushing our forces back on every front. Our troops, they're terrified of dying to such a primitive weapon. It's humiliating. The Supreme Commander stared at the battle reports, his pride crumbling like his fleet. Their entire civilization was built on technological superiority. They had conquered dozens of species, all of whom tried to match their advanced technology. None had ever thought to use something so simple, so primitive, so effective. We have another problem, the chief scientist added quietly. Other species in our empire are learning about this weakness. There are reports of rebellions starting. They're building similar weapons. Our technology, our advantage. It's becoming our greatest weakness. The chamber fell silent. The mighty Dominion, which had spread across countless star systems through the power of their advanced technology, was being defeated by office supplies. The Supreme Commander looked at his council, seeing the same realization in all their eyes. They had no choice. Send the message, he ordered finally. Tell the humans. Tell them we wish to discuss terms of surrender. The peace conference took place on neutral ground, a space station orbiting Jupiter. Captain Walker stood guard as Earth's delegation entered the meeting room. Dr. Emma Thompson walked beside Admiral Peters, carrying a small box that made several Dominion representatives nervously step back. The Supreme Commander of the Dominion stood at the head of the table, his massive form somehow less intimidating than in earlier transmissions. His translator clicked as he spoke. We are prepared to discuss terms of immediate cessation of hostilities. Emma placed her box on the table. Inside was a single office rubber band, the kind found in any desk drawer on Earth. Several Dominion guards raised their weapons before their commander waved them down. Is this some kind of threat? The Supreme Commander asked, eyeing the simple elastic band. No, Emma replied, picking up the rubber band. This is a reminder. Your ships could stop plasma torpedoes, deflect energy beams, and shrug off missile strikes. But this, she stretched the band between her fingers, this brought your empire to its knees. The Supreme Commander's facial plates shifted in what humans had learned was an expression of discomfort. Your species thinks differently from any we have encountered. We assumed technological advancement meant bigger weapons, more energy, faster projectiles. You proved us wrong. Admiral Peters laid out the terms: immediate withdrawal from human space, return of all captured colonies, and a non-aggression pact. The Dominion representatives didn't even attempt to negotiate. Their once mighty empire was facing internal rebellions as other species discovered their shield's weakness. They needed peace, and quickly. There's one more thing, Emma said, stretching the rubber band. We want your shield technology, not to use it, but to study it, to remind ourselves and future generations that sometimes the most advanced solution isn't the best one. The Supreme Commander signed the peace treaty with a ceremonial claw mark. As a final gesture, Emma shot the rubber band across the table. It bounced harmlessly off the commander's armor, making several Dominion guards flinch. Back on Earth, celebrations broke out across every city and colony. Humanity had faced its greatest threat and survived not through superior technology, but by thinking differently. The rubber band became a symbol of human ingenuity, with statues of giant slingshots erected in major cities. Dr. Emma Thompson received the highest honors Earth could bestow, though she kept that first rubber band on her desk. Captain Walker and his crew were celebrated as heroes, their stories taught in military academies alongside lessons about thinking outside conventional boundaries. Years later, when asked about the war, Emma would always say the same thing. The Dominion thought they were unbeatable because they had the most advanced technology in the galaxy. But they forgot that sometimes the simplest solution is the most elegant. They were looking so far ahead, they forgot to look behind them. And in schools across Earth, children learned an important lesson. Never underestimate the power of a good rubber band, and never assume that advanced means better.